Ash began to fall, first like a strange whisper, over Pompeii in the year 79th AD, covering rooftops, streets and courtyards as if the sky itself were collapsing upon the city. Inside the houses, routine still tried to exist, ignoring the signs accumulating in the air, while the distant sound of invisible explosions heralded something impossible to understand at that moment. In a few instants, the ground trembled, the air darkened, and what had been organized domestic life transformed into a silence interrupted by chaos. Objects remained where they were, as if time had been ripped from the world without warning. But what was it really like to live inside these houses before everything disappeared? What happened in the routines, the interior spaces, and the relationships of a Roman family when no one yet knew that this would be Pompeii's last day? By the end of this story, you will understand how every detail of these houses worked, from the organization to the most intimate habits, and why this moment frozen in time has become one of the greatest windows to the past ever discovered by history. Subscribe and like this video so YouTube shares it with more people. Give it a super thanks if you can, or comment on what surprised you the most. Living in a house in Pompeii in 79 AD meant being immersed in a highly structured domestic world where architecture, economic power, and daily life blended seamlessly and impressively. The most important residences were not merely shelters, but extensions of the social status of the families who inhabited them, reflecting their influence within the Roman city. The interior space was planned to control the circulation of people, privacy, and also how visitors perceived the owner's wealth. Upon entering, the visitor was led through a carefully thought-out architectural sequence that created a sense of transition between the bustling outside world and the more private interior environment. The surrounding surfaces were composed of materials extracted from the volcanic region itself, such as dark stone, tough and primitive Roman concrete, which gave the structures impressive strength. Natural lighting was a central element of the domestic experience, as the absence of large external windows meant that light was filtered in a controlled manner, creating contrasts between more open areas and more intimate spaces. This interplay of light and shadow was enhanced by walls decorated with intense pigments, which served not only an aesthetic function but also a symbolic one, often representing desires for prosperity, spiritual protection, or cultural references of the Roman elite. In some houses, the internal organization included reception areas, administrative workspaces, living rooms, and areas exclusively for family rest, demonstrating a clear separation of functions within the same environment. The floor was frequently decorated with geometric patterns or narrative scenes composed of small, carefully fitted stone pieces, creating durable and visually complex surfaces. Sound within these residences was muffled, with footsteps echoing softly in the corridors and voices being contained by the thick walls, contributing to a sense of control and exclusivity. The indoor air carried mixtures of aromas from food being prepared, oils used for lighting, and perfumes applied by the residents, creating a unique sensory atmosphere. The circulation of people within the house followed implicit social rules, where guests, clients, and family members had access to different areas depending on their social position and relationship with the owner. In many homes, there were internal gardens that served as spaces for contemplation and also as displays of wealth, containing ornamental plants, small water fountains, and imported or locally produced sculptures. These gardens provided a visual connection with nature amidst the urban density of the city. Water played a fundamental role in domestic functioning, being strategically collected and stored for daily use, from basic tasks to maintaining cleanliness and the comfort of the inhabitants. Natural ventilation was carefully utilized through openings at the top of the structures and internal corridors that allowed air circulation, helping to mitigate the intense heat of the region. Life within these houses was also marked by a strong presence of social hierarchy, where the most influential residents controlled not only the physical spaces, but also the human relationships that occurred within them. Each room had a specific function and a symbolic weight associated with the power of the family, making the house a true living representation of Roman society on a reduced scale. This combination of elements made living in a Pompeian residence a profoundly organized, visually rich, and socially complex experience, far removed from the simplicity we often imagine when thinking of ancient dwellings. Furthermore, the daily functioning of these houses depended on constant organization, involving careful maintenance of every architectural and decorative detail, as volcanic dust and the hot climate required frequent cleaning of surfaces and replacement of elements damaged by continuous use. Nighttime lighting was primarily provided by oil lamps, which produced a soft, flickering light, sufficient only to highlight pathways and allow for basic activities after sunset. Furniture was relatively sparse compared to modern standards, but carefully chosen, including low tables, benches, and raised beds used for both rest and meals on certain social occasions. Privacy within these residences was a flexible concept, as many activities took place in open interior areas, allowing sounds and movements to be perceived by different members of the household, although a clear separation between public and private spaces still existed. Security was primarily ensured by the solid structure of the walls and the control of access through the main entrance, since the high social standing of the families also served as protection within the community. During social events, the house transformed into a showroom, where visitors were received in carefully organized areas to demonstrate wealth and culture, reinforcing political and commercial alliances. The materials used in construction also reflected the influence of the volcanic region, with the use of hardened ash and local stones that offered great resistance to tremors and wear over time. During periods of intense heat, the internal architecture helped maintain more moderate temperatures, thanks to air circulation and the presence of shaded areas provided by the internal gardens. The day in a Pompeian home began very early, following a rigid rhythm that deeply reflected the organization of Roman society, where each person had a well-defined role, and almost all activities were guided by habits established over time. As soon as the sun rose, the homeowners were already up, usually men belonging to the wealthier classes of the city, and their first concern was not rest, but rather the social and economic commitments that sustained their position. In the early morning hours, the house would begin to bustle with the arrival of visitors, clients, and people who depended on these families for business, favors, or important decisions, creating a constant flow of interactions that transformed the domestic environment into a true center of local power. The space where these receptions took place was carefully prepared to convey authority and respect, and there the homeowner exercised his influence through formal conversations, agreements, and guidance that could determine the course of commercial or political activities. Meanwhile, the wife played an essential role in the internal organization of the residence, even if her work took place away from the most visible public spaces. She was responsible for coordinating the functioning of the household as a whole, directly supervising the work of the servants and slaves, ensuring that each task was executed with precision and that nothing was lacking in the family's daily routine. This management included everything from controlling food to organizing household objects, disciplining the workers, and maintaining order in the different areas of the residence. The functioning of the house depended on this constant coordination, since any failure could affect the comfort and reputation of the family. Throughout the morning, various activities took place simultaneously, with people circulating between tasks, deliveries being made, and preparations being organized for the rest of the day. The internal environment was dynamic, but at the same time structured, with each individual knowing exactly where they should be and what they should do. As the day progressed, the routine became more focused on social relations and the management of external commitments, but without losing strict control over the internal functioning of the house. Meals played a fundamental role in this daily organization, as they were not only moments of eating, but also occasions for socializing and demonstrating status. The main meal took place in the late afternoon, in a specific space reserved for this type of gathering, where guests were received ceremonially and seated in positions that followed well-established social traditions. During these moments, the arrangement of the participants directly reflected their importance within the social hierarchy, and the very way of eating was part of a ritual that reinforced bonds and power relations. The food served varied according to the family's wealth, and could include a wide variety of fresh foods prepared with care, while wine was consumed in diluted form, following customs of the time that valued balance and moderation. In contrast, families of lower social standing lived a simpler reality, with fewer resources available and more modest meals, often consumed in smaller spaces and with less formality, although still within the domestic structure that organized their lives. Despite these differences, both rich and poor had the home as the center of their daily activities, since it was within the home that family life, domestic work, and a large part of the most important social interactions were concentrated. The home was not merely a place of rest, but a living space that reflected each individual's position in society and organized virtually every aspect of daily life. Throughout the day, the rhythm could vary between moments of intense activity and periods of relative calm, but always within a predictable structure that ensured the functioning of domestic life without major improvisations. This predictability was essential for maintaining social order, since the stability of the home was directly linked to the stability of the family and consequently to its reputation within the community. Even moments of leisure or rest were integrated into this organized logic, without a complete separation between private and social life, as both were constantly interconnected. A surprise to many modern scholars and visitors is the realization that some houses in Pompeii possessed quite sophisticated internal systems for their time, revealing a level of urban and domestic planning that demonstrates how much Roman society had developed practical solutions for daily life. Even without modern technologies, residents managed to organize domestic life efficiently, combining functionality with comfort within the possibilities available at the time. Food preparation areas were generally compact and strategically positioned within the house, allowing culinary activities to take place practically and relatively isolated from the rest of the rooms. In these kitchens, fire was produced in heat-resistant stone structures, where charcoal or wood was used as an energy source to cook food, creating a simple but highly functional environment for daily needs. The absence of modern preservation systems meant that the food routine was quite dynamic, requiring rapid consumption of fresh ingredients and the use of traditional preservation methods, such as the intensive use of salt and drying techniques that help to prolong the shelf life of food. This constant attention to nutrition reflected an intelligent adaptation to the natural limitations of the period, ensuring that families could maintain a varied diet within the available conditions. The spaces designated for personal hygiene also presented interesting characteristics, because although simple compared to current standards, they fulfilled their functions efficiently and in an organized manner. In some residences, there was a direct connection to urban drainage systems, allowing for more controlled waste disposal demonstrating an advanced level of engineering for that historical period. This integration between the house and the city's infrastructure shows how the Romans valued collective solutions to everyday problems, especially in well-developed urban centers like Pompeii. In wealthier homes, comfort was even more evident, with the presence of private facilities focused on the well-being of the residents, including exclusive spaces for hygiene, easy access to water, and structures that allowed for greater convenience in daily use. Water, an essential element for domestic life, was distributed through systems that supplied different areas of the residence, enabling everything from cleaning to decorative use in interior spaces. In many of these wealthier homes, it was common to find small indoor fountains that not only provided water, but also created an atmosphere of tranquility and sophistication within the domestic environment. These decorative elements were often integrated into carefully planned indoor gardens, known as hortus, which functioned as spaces for leisure, contemplation, and display of social status. These gardens were designed to offer a sense of nature within the urban space, with ornamental plants, organized pathways, and architectural elements that reinforce the visual harmony of the environment. In some residences, these gardens included elaborate sculptures and small decorative pools that reflected natural light, creating visual effects that further enhanced the interior space of the house. The presence of these elements clearly demonstrated that domestic comfort was not only a matter of functionality, but also of aesthetics and social prestige, especially among the wealthiest families in the city. The organization of these spaces revealed a special care for the sensory experience of residents and visitors who could appreciate not only the utility of the environments, but also their carefully planned beauty. This combination of practicality and sophistication shows how deeply structured domestic life in Pompeii was, integrating technical solutions with aesthetic concerns in a balanced way. Even in a time without modern technologies, the inhabitants managed to create environments that met basic needs while conveying a sense of comfort and refinement. Thus, houses were not just places of shelter, but true spaces for conviviality, organization, and cultural expression, reflecting the complexity and level of development of Roman society during that historical period. Within the homes of Pompeii, decoration was not merely a visual detail or an aesthetic complement, but rather a silent and extremely powerful language through which the inhabitants communicated their identity, their wealth, and their place within Roman society. Each wall, each floor, and each interior space functioned as a kind of carefully constructed visual narrative to impress visitors and reinforce the social authority of the family that lived there. The local elite invested significant financial resources in the ornamentation of their residences, treating the house as a direct extension of their public reputation, where art played a central role in building prestige. The interior surfaces were meticulously prepared to receive elaborate paintings that covered large areas of the walls, creating immersive environments that transformed the rooms into almost theatrical settings. These frescoes were produced with advanced techniques for the time, using natural pigments applied to fresh plaster, which allowed the colors to integrate into the wall and remain visible for centuries. The result was an extremely vibrant visual ensemble, with intense tones that brought life to the interior spaces and created a sense of depth and movement within enclosed environments. In some of the most well-known residences, such as the House of the Vetii, the decoration reached a level of sophistication that impresses even today, displaying complex scenes that blended mythology, symbolic power, and elements of idealized daily life. These images were not chosen at random, but followed a very strong cultural logic where gods and heroes were represented as symbols of protection, strength, and legitimacy, for the homeowners. Furthermore, there were also representations of imaginary gardens that visually expanded the interior spaces, creating the illusion of open and natural environments within the closed structure of the residence. In many cases, Roman artists used primitive perspective techniques to simulate columns, corridors, and non-existent architecture, making the walls appear as windows to other worlds. This type of visual illusion demonstrated not only artistic skill, but also the desire to symbolically expand the space of the house beyond its real physical limits. The floors of the residences also played a fundamental role in this elaborate aesthetic, often being covered by extremely detailed mosaics composed of small colored stones, carefully fitted together to form complex and lasting images. These mosaics could depict mythological scenes, geometric patterns, or symbols associated with wealth and cultural knowledge, functioning as an extension of the visual narrative present on the walls. One of the most impressive examples of this type of art can be found in the House of the Faun, one of the largest and most important residences ever discovered in Pompeii, where the level of detail in the mosaics reveals not only technical skill, but also enormous financial investment on the part of the owners. These compositions on the floor were made with extreme care, requiring time and specialized labor, which further reinforced the idea of exclusivity and social status. The combination of decorated walls and elaborate floors transformed the interior of the houses into completely immersive environments, where each surface contributed to a continuous and carefully planned visual experience. Much of daily life within Pompeii homes depended directly and constantly on the labor of enslaved people, who were fundamental to the functioning of the entire domestic and social structure. In wealthier residences, internal organization was only possible thanks to the presence of many individuals responsible for keeping every detail of the routine in order, ensuring that the owners' lives proceeded comfortably and without interruption. These people performed a wide variety of tasks that sustained the daily functioning of the house, from heavier activities to repetitive and continuous functions that required constant attention. Among these tasks were food preparation, cleaning of different rooms, transporting water necessary for domestic use, caring for the family's children, and also directly attending to the residents during meals and social gatherings. In addition, many were also responsible for the maintenance of external spaces, such as gardens and living areas, which needed to be always organized and visually pleasing to reflect the family's social standing. In some of the more prestigious households, the number of enslaved people could reach dozens, creating a veritable network of internal labor that sustained the owner's lifestyle. This structure allowed the homeowners to dedicate themselves almost exclusively to social, political, or economic activities, while all the practical maintenance of the residence was the responsibility of this group. Within this domestic hierarchy, there was also a division of labor that varied according to the level of knowledge and skill of each individual, meaning that not everyone performed the same tasks. Some received more advanced training and assumed roles that required greater responsibility, such as managing property, controlling records, or directly assisting in the family's commercial activities. Others worked in educational roles, being responsible for instructing the children of the house in basic reading, writing, and social behavior, which demonstrates that there was a greater complexity in this system than just physical labor. Despite this variety of roles, living conditions were marked by simplicity and a stark contrast to the comfort level of the owners. Many of these people slept in small spaces, usually near service areas, where privacy was limited and the environment was exclusively geared towards quick rest between tasks. The routine was intense and continuous, requiring constant availability to meet the needs of the house at any time of day. This functioning made the daily life of the residents highly dependent on this workforce, without which it would be impossible to maintain the level of organization and comfort observed in wealthier homes. The lifestyle of the Roman elite was directly linked to this structure, since the free time and social prestige of the owners were sustained by the invisible work carried out within the home itself. Thus, the domestic organization in Pompeii reveals a deeply hierarchical society, where the functioning of daily life was based on a clear division between those who planned and enjoyed the space and those who kept everything running behind the scenes. This system was part of the Roman social structure as a whole, and was present in practically all areas of urban life, reflecting values, customs, and practices that shaped the daily lives of families and defined the dynamics of relationships within the domestic environment. On August 24th, 79 AD, the tranquil and organized life of Pompeii families was suddenly interrupted by a natural event of extreme proportions that would forever change the city's history. What had previously been a predictable daily life, marked by domestic routines, commercial activities, and social interaction, quickly transformed into a sequence of unexpected events caused by the force of nature. At the beginning of the phenomenon, many residents did not immediately realize the gravity of the situation and remained inside their homes, trying to continue with their usual activities while the external environment began to subtly but increasingly change. Small particles began to appear in the air, and little by little, a rain of ash began to fall from the sky, slowly covering streets, roofs, and inner courtyards, creating a strange and silent atmosphere that contrasted with the normal movement of the city. As time progressed, this fall of volcanic material intensified and became heavier, hindering visibility and increasing the sense of danger inside and outside the residences. The structures of the houses, which had previously seemed solid and secure, began to suffer from the constant accumulation of material on the roofs, and in many cases could not withstand the increasing weight. As a result, parts of the buildings collapsed, completely altering the interior spaces and definitively interrupting the routine of those who remained inside. At this critical moment, many household objects remained exactly where they had been left, preserving a static scene of daily life as if time had abruptly stopped. Tableware remained on surfaces, tools were scattered in work areas, and furniture remained positioned in the rooms, creating an extremely vivid image of what was happening in the last moments of normal city life. This involuntary preservation of interior spaces became one of the most striking characteristics of the place, allowing a unique understanding of what life was like inside the houses during that period. As the event progressed, the situation became even more extreme with the arrival of extremely hot and fast-moving volcanic material currents, known for their ability to destroy everything in their path in a matter of moments. These masses of gas and ash surged through the city with overwhelming force, reaching all areas and definitively ending urban life in that space. The impact was devastating, but at the same time it created a rare condition of preservation, as the layers of volcanic material completely covered the city, isolating it from the external environment and protecting its structures for centuries. Over time, Pompeii remained buried and forgotten until it was rediscovered many centuries later by archaeologists who found a virtually intact city under the ash, revealing to the modern world an extraordinary vision of daily life frozen on the last day of its existence. When we look at Pompeii, we realize how everything can change in a single instant, transforming entire lives into memories. The everyday life that seemed ordinary became history, frozen in time. And in the next video, you'll discover an even more unexpected and surprising place.